How to bleed your Shimano Saint brakes. You'll need a rag to clean up, somewhere to put the old oil, the Shimano bleeding kit, Allen keys and a 7mm spanner. Start by removing the rear wheel to stop the oil from contaminating anything like the brake pads or your gears. Once the wheel's removed, you'll need to take the pads out to stop them from being contaminated. To remove the pads, first you'll need to move this retaining clip on the back and put it somewhere you'll find it. Then you'll need a 3mm Allen key. Then it's this one here. Just crack it loose and then undo it all the way. Then again, put that somewhere safe. Once you've done that, the pads simply come out. But you want to put them somewhere away from where the oil will be. Then you'll need your bleeding block, which just slots in. Takes a bit of a wriggle to get them in. Then get your screw again and then put it in to hold the block in place. Then just tighten it up so you don't lose the screw. Before we start the bleeding process, you might want to make sure that's all the way in, which makes the lever all the way out. I always have mine like that because I like high pressure. On another bike, it's not as hard because it's not all the way in. So before you do it, you just want to make it all the way in, like that. Then the lever will go much harder, you should find. And that's one of the things you want to do before bleeding. The next is then put your 3-stroke screw, make sure that's all the way in, and you'll definitely get the proper way of bleeding the brake. Before you get the oil, you also want to remove the front wheel to stop any drips from the brake lever going onto the pads or onto the disc. So before we get the oil, we will remove the front wheel. What I want to do now is get the back lower than the front, so all the air rises up. Just do that by twisting it in the bike frame. Usually I get the back of the swing arm level to the ground, just as an idea, and then the front should just be like that. The next thing is you want the top of your brake lever to be level with the ground. That'll allow the air to travel out of the piston much easier. You'll need a 4mm Allen key. And it just goes in the back of the, like that. Undo it, shouldn't be too tight, and you get it level with the ground like that. Then you'll just want to tighten it up again, just to stop it from moving whilst you bleed the brake. That should be good. Before we start to bleed the rear brake, or the front brake, we'll need to remove this cover right here, this little grommet. If it'll focus, there we go. Just undo that and make sure you get that seal with it. Sometimes they stay in, which is a pain. And just put that somewhere safe again. Then it should just have a hole. And at the bike, you'll have this little cap. You can leave it like that, but it's much easier to remove the cap entirely. And again, put it somewhere safe. to remove the air, put the end of the syringe in there, in the container, and have the syringe at an angle, like that. So when you push on the syringe, all the air will be forced back up the tube and back into the pot, and give it a sharp squeeze, so it's just brake fluid in there. Then once it's in the brake fluid, pull it up quite high, about 12 centimeters, whatever it is. Then when you got your end like that, you want to go over to the bike. You want your cap thing, back the lid, and make sure you got your grommet in there. And this goes on to the top, just like that. You want to make sure you don't strip the thread, because it's only plastic, it's very delicate. So just want to make sure it goes on there nice, like that, and make sure the grommet stays in. There we go. 7mm nut, so just get a 7mm spanner and it'll come off quite easily, but don't do that yet. You'll now need to put the syringe on that bleeding nipple. What it'll do for that is you'll just get it slightly on, then give it a shove. A bit of oil will come out, but that's not the end of the world. When you're ready to start the bleeding process, you'll need to remove this grommet here and put that somewhere safe where it's not going to get dirty. That's good, because we'll need it later. Then get your spanner and get it on there. Just break that loose a little bit, you don't have to go too far. Then get your syringe and start pumping the new oil through. At this end, the old oil and air should be coming out. Yeah, I can't get it to focus. So just keep shoving it through, and eventually it'll be there. Once the oil's through, you want to get your spanner on the nut again and tighten it up. Not too tight though. Once that's done, you go to the top, in there. But you'll know you've changed all the oil because it will be black, and then it'll start to go red again when you get any air out of it. You'll want to lightly tap the caliper to free any air bubbles, and then you want to get it up your brake line. This is just to free any air. Just slowly work your way up, just until you get to the top, and it should free any air bubbles left inside. When you hit the top, just lightly tap the brake, and it should just free any air bubbles. And once you've done that, just flick the lever. Like that. And that should be all the air out of the system. Then you get your grommet again. Then stick it back in the cup there. And once you've done that, you want to remove the cup. Make sure you get that seal again. Then you want to discard of this, and just using this old Shimano oil case. So for now, and then we can get rid of it later. I'll need to replace the screw up there, and it's just reverse of removing it. Then just tighten it, but don't do too tight, you don't want to strip anything. Then you'll need some kitchen roll or something just to clean up the mess with. Because a bit of oil should just come out. Then once that's done, go to your brake, and remove the syringe and place that for 5 minutes. Then you want to clean the oil that's come out. Now you want to remove your rear bleed block and then put your pads back in, but first we're going to put this grommet back on. It just pops over and then goes on like that. Nice and neat. Now we're going to remove this bleed block now. Remove the screw. And then just get the bleed block out. Then before you do your pads, you'll want to wash your hands. Otherwise you don't want to get any oil on them. And just slot them in. And the Saints do have a left and right pad, and they'll only go in one way anyway, so just make sure that's right. Get the screw again, then put it back in. Might just have to lift the pad up a bit, and then it should just go in. Make sure it's fairly tight, and put the retaining clip back on the screw, and then that should be the rear one fully bled. All that's left to do now, once you have your wheels on, I don't because I'm just about to bleed my front brake. All that's left to do now is to put your brake set just where you want it, where you had it before. Just undo that with the 4mm again. I marked mine on with dots on my bars. I just put dots so you know so I always know where I like them. Once I lined up the dots, tighten your lever back up again. Like so. I've just plugged the front wheel now, and something worth mentioning, when you bleed the brakes, the pads are actually set back again. So you'll need to squeeze your lever just a couple times to get rid of all of the, well, just to get the pads right in the correct place again. And eventually it should firm up nicely like that. But once that's happened, sometimes on the pad, well most times, you'll need to re-center your disc. You can't really see, but the disc is getting bent by the pads. So I'm going to have to reset my caliper to allow for this. All I need is a 5mm Allen key. And this one to undo. The bolts that hold the caliper on. Just slightly, not all the way. Just so the caliper is free to move. Then you want to apply the brake and hold pressure. That will put the caliper in the center place. If not, you might have to just keep fiddling until it works out, but this is usually the best way. I can't do this with one hand, but a good tip is to either put a cable tie around that or just tie something around it to hold it whilst you work down there. Usually I just hold it with my left hand and then tighten it with my right, and it's usually fine. So